Hello and welcome to a guided tour of Esper. Esper is an Oyster 435. She's ketch rigged and she has a cutter stay sail. We thought we'd give you a little tour around and show you what she's all about. Now remember, she's a working boat, so she's not in pristine condition. You are seeing her as she normally is. We've actually done a bit of tidying up. It's a bit rolly here. Big ferry's just gone past, but we thought we'd start at the front of the boat on the bow, except it's not on the bow because it's in the water. We have a Rockner anchor. It's the first generation 33 kilo and she's brilliant. Not going to get into discussion of Rockner versus Mantis. As far as we're concerned, she's a great anchor. And we have 10mm chain. We have over 100 meters, 110 meters, and we've put out over 80 meters before now, so that comes in useful. If you remember, a couple of months ago we had windlass problems, so we have installed a new windlass. Two furling mechanisms for the foresails. These are the original hood sea furls, so these are probably 30 odd years old. We replaced the bearings in our refit and they have been fine, so they're all good. Just to the right of Liz is our single man kayak. We could do with another one so we can go off kayaking together. We think a two-man's going to be too big, so we're on the lookout for another single man kayak. At the mast we have granny bars, which are very useful in heavy weather because it allows you to lean against it. Esper's what you call an over-rigged boat. There's a lot of cable holding up the two masts. We've got a triatic in between the two masts. We have a baby stay just here. We've got 12mm, 10mm and 8mm stays for the main mast. In-mast furling, of course, don't forget. We've had a lot of discussion about in-mast furling. We love it. It's the original hood system, and again we replaced the bearings in the refit and it's been all good, so happy with that. Hanging over the boom is our wonderful sunbrella cover. Now we got this made by a dear friend of ours called Yenna, who was a sail maker in Turkey, who sadly passed away last year. So I really never want to get rid of this because it reminds me of a lot of good times we had with Yenna when we first started sailing in Turkey. It's so well made, it's brilliant. Esper used to be completely teak decked, and if you've watched our refit series you know we got rid of our teak deck. Best thing that we ever did because it's reduced the temperature inside the boat, especially in the evenings, by a significant few degrees. The only thing left we have on the boat that's teak is the original grab handle. Well, we got this remade actually, but exactly the same design. A shortened tow rail just to give it a more modern look, and then we have a little bit of teak in the cockpit and on the back boxes on the back of the boat, but that is it. We've done away with the teak. Recommend doing it, especially in the tropics. We have a split backstay on the main mast, but we also have these, now some people call them running backstays, and we were corrected and told they're actually called check stays. So these check stays are used when we put the inner foresail out, so they help give a bit of tension and strength when we are going into wind. I'm now nestling upon perhaps the most important thing on the boat, and regular viewers will know exactly what this is. This is Millie's throne. I bought this for Liz as a joke when we first started sailing. It was a director's chair and on the back it said cabin boy, and it survived all these years and it's Millie's absolute favourite spot, so this is the most treasured thing on the boat. On the back of the boat you can see it's a bit of a mess. As I said, we're a working boat and we're doing a lot of moving around. The first thing you'll see are all the extra jerry cans. We originally were going to be going down Sumatra, so we wanted lots of diesel on board rather than taking it in Indonesia, which is notorious for bad diesel. But we've kept them because we're now going to be doing lots more motoring. So we have a lot of lash down jerry cans at the back here. We have the two sets of solar panels which swing up like wings, and these are one of the first things that we mounted on the boat when we first bought Esper. At the moment you can see the Honda petrol generator is outside. We've had a lot of cloud and we've been doing a lot of video editing, so we pull this out every now and then just to top up the batteries. This is the mizzen mast, obviously for the mizzen sail. Probably my favourite sail on the boat because it is so easy to manage, and it's always the first sail I put out and the last sail I put away. In fact, when we anchor sometimes we leave it out to stabilise the boat. At the back of the boat behind me we have the davits that we put on a couple of years ago, and we use this obviously to raise the dinghy, and they are strong enough to raise the dinghy with the 9.8 horsepower outboard on the dinghy, which is great. These are the boxes we got made in the refit, and they replaced the crappy old teak ones we had previously. They've been nicely shaped into the deck itself. Excuse the colour of the deck, we did a diesel run the other day and it's a little bit dirty, so sorry about that. But these boxes are great. In that box over there we have 10 meters of chain attached to 100 meters of line to be used either as a drogue, or if we lose the main chain, it's just there as a backup. This is our main shower, which we've put into one of the boxes, and this is where we wash occasionally. Just a pull-out shower on a long hose, just long enough that we can actually stand up with both hot and cold. And this is our barbecue, which we actually got made in India from scratch. It cost us $50 for materials and labour. Unfortunately, we haven't used it lately because we haven't caught any fish. This is what we barbecue our fish on. But hopefully, in the near future, when Liz pulls out that 1 metre mackerel that she's looking for, that's where we're going to cook it. We also have an extra gas container on the back. So Liz is standing on the gas locker, which contains 3 smaller gas bottles. But we also have a 12 kilo gas bottle, which we've lashed to the side, which stays outside of the boat. I'm standing on the Lazarette. The Lazarette is the great big huge cupboard at the back of the boat. It's very, very big. It contains obviously our rudder stock, our autopilot RAM system, but more importantly, it contains my beer supply. Not only that, we've got spare water jerry cans in there, oil, cables, hoses, all sorts of things. It's a great big cavernous space where I can put things out of the way. It does get a bit damp, so anything that goes in there has to be okay with getting a little bit wet. The Lazarette even contains one of our 2 folding bicycles. That's how big it is. This is our original outboard. It's a Yamaha Malta. It's a 3.2 2-stroke 3.2 horsepower. We inherited this with the boat, and we had this right up until 2 years ago. So we ran with this for 7 or 8 years. It is supposed to be the single most reliable outboard ever made, and it really is. It's a great little engine. Because we now have the bigger one, we've kept this one as a backup, and we've needed it a couple of times as well. The other big cupboard at the back of the boat is our rope locker. Very deep. This is the binnacle. Again, in the refit, we got this made to accommodate our new navigation system, which is made by B&G. We also have a little holder here where we can mount our mobile phone if we're running navigation on that as well. These are the original cup holders we got made in Turkey, which are great. And then we've got the cockpit table, which we got made last year. This is something else we got made in the refit. We used to have a crappy old box here, and we've now had this box made out of honeycomb, which is now integrated into the deck, which is great. So we've got some storage for essentials in here, like the anchor ball and the horn. Mounted along the deck are essential things like stereo speakers. We've got the VHF auxiliary speaker here. We've got 2 display units for the navigation system. And we also have a cigarette lighter, 12-volt power supply, waterproof USB controls here, and an additional little plug which is used for our halogen spotlight. So Esper is designed to be short-handed sailed. So basically what that means is that you can pretty much do everything from the cockpit. So all of the furling lines run into the cockpit. So the furling line for the main mast, they actually come through here. So everything can be done quite easily within the safety of the centre cockpit.
Okay, here we are down below, and this is the forepeak. Originally this would have had 2 bunks in it, and a piece that you could put across the middle here for 2 people to sleep on. It is no longer used for that. It is used, as you can see, entirely for storage, all across the top, underneath and right down below. We've got several lockers all the way around here. I'm not going to open them now. They're just full of stuff that are it's all very useful. The most important locker at the front here is this one here, because this is Millie's locker. Also in the next section backwards, we've got a large cupboard which I use mainly for pretty much all the linen in here and bags and bits and bobs. Long tall things that we can only get in the bottom cupboard go in here. It includes my broom, Jamie's tripod and a whole variety of things. On the starboard side, we put these little shelves in. Originally there was a little vanity unit in here for whoever slept at the front. Took that out, got rid of that, and we've now got these little shelves full of all the useful little bits and pieces, bungs, cotter pins, I don't know, bits, I can't think what else we got here. We've got all kinds of things in here anyway, all very easy to get to. So before the refit, this whole area here was closed off. There was a wall here and there was a door into what used to be the heads and the shower. There was another door here into the front. Took all that out to open it up to give us a bit more space. We kept the bunks on this side, and in fact the top bunk has been used quite recently to sleep in. At the moment though, it's got all of our stuff nicely stowed at the top here, variety of things, tool bag, things that we need to get quickly like tape, glue, string, that kind of thing, all up the top. And then the bigger things in the bottom, like the generator, bags, and also one of our bicycles in the bottom here. So this was all originally enclosed here with a door in and then a door into what used to be the shower unit. So this is now a nice open office. It's where I do my work and where I get away from Jamie. Useful files and so forth on the back here. Nice, very deep fiddles, so it's all held in place. When we go across oceans and we do any big passages, then we'll put nets in over all of this so nothing can fall out. Underneath here is the water maker. So the bench seat lifts off and you can open the whole thing up, and Jamie has fantastic access to the water maker through the top and also through the bottom. This is also the area where our little cat Millie likes to eat her food. She has her own shelf. So moving to the middle of the boat, this is a saloon, this is the nerve centre, this is where I lie that side and he lies that side and we watch the telly. It's surrounded with lockers a lot around the top. This is one of the more important lockers, as you can see here. Nice huge locker under here where we store the flags and various other bits and pieces that are made of cloth, anything that's non-metallic, because the compass is in here. So the saloon has a beautiful wooden floor that we adored when it was put in, and we still adore, but there is a slight problem. I'll just walk across the saloon and explain it to you. So as you can see, it's pretty noisy, and that's because when it was on the hard, it was perfect. And the moment the boat went into the water and the boat started doing that, the floorboards do that a bit. So we've got a little bit more work to do to shave them down to stop that noise, but we've got used to it. The other thing you may notice on the floor is this rather unsightly blue rug thing. Well, it's not a rug, it's an old yoga mat which I did use at one stage, but Millie loves it. She scratches it, she lives on it, she jumps from it to the top and from the top to the bottom, because for her on this very shiny floor life's quite difficult. Either side of the saloon, as I say, are these nice big berths. This pulls out here, so you can sleep here, you can sleep on that side as well. And underneath them and into the floor are our water tanks. So loads of water. I think we hold 600 litres between the three tanks. And the other thing about this one and that one is, in fact, there's a little bit of storage room as well. I'll just show you. So here they are. There's the two pieces here where we can put a few little bits and pieces in. Not very deep, but deep enough. Let me show you. And there's the inspection plate for the water, one on either side. On the port side in the saloon, we've got the first of two fridges. This is just a small one here. We tend to use it really just for drinks. So that's filled up with sodas and beers at the moment. Going round then onto the port side, the longer of the two sofas. We've just been shopping, so there's a bit of stuff all around the boat. Some very important provisions were taken yesterday, and Millie's just guarding them for us. So this is the galley, runs the full length down on the port side. Very straightforward, double sink, which is great, nice tap which we installed. huge workspace here, stove on a gimbal, and a really big fridge here. I just bought this yesterday and today, so I'm drying all the vegetables out, having washed them in bleach and water so that they will keep for as long as possible. What else we have in here is lots of sliding cabinets, full, really useful, very deep, get loads in there. Again, lots of storage, deep storage at the top here with 2 port lights and very deep fiddles. We don't normally put anything else other than the fiddles most of the time, but when we do an ocean passage again, we'll put some nets in here. In the centre underneath the cockpit here is the Beta 60, our new engine. We can get access to it from the sides and from the front and obviously from the top, so this lifts off. Most of the time when we're sailing there's nothing on here other than our grab bags. There's 3 grab bags here, so if we need to get the engine quickly they can come off very quickly and we can get in there. So that's great, and if you need to get the engine out, which we discovered, you just pull it straight up and through the cockpit floor. So this is our companionway. It was sculpted by the workers when we were at when we had the refit done. Beautiful thick piece of teak, actually shaped steps going up here, and the whole thing was made by those guys. We love it. It stands on top of a box, which is what we had originally, and this is where we keep the batteries. So really easy access for me to be checking those batteries regularly. So this is the cabin. It's a centerline cabin. It's at the end of the boat on the stern. Lovely and wide, lovely and spacious. We've got a lot of light and we've got a lot of storage. That is Jamie's side. That is my side, and never the two shall meet. He has all his crap over there and I don't have to look at it. And I have all mine over here. I keep my clothes in the wardrobe, and the easiest thing to do is just to fold them. It was hanging originally, but this way I can keep a lot more clothes. I just try and keep it neat, keep everything in there. I've got a couple of drawers here for swimwear, underwear. You don't need to see my underwear drawer. And up here, boxes of useful bits and pieces that I use all the time, as well as all my fishing gear in here. We put this new little locker, which didn't exist before the refit, in here, and there's loads more room for all my crap. And then there's another locker up here where I've got a sewing machine and other bits and pieces. And on Jamie's side, he obviously has to keep all of the drone stuff, all the camera equipment and so forth. That's all up under this towel. I won't reveal it. And then he keeps his clothes in here and here and here, and I won't open those. So Esper now has 1 heads. It's this heads here. It's big enough for us. It does everything. It does everything you need to do in the heads. There's the loo, there's the basin, and we actually have, if we wanted to have a shower inside, we can, because you can pull this out and you can have a shower. We prefer not to do that. We prefer to keep it dry in here and do our showering on deck. Nice big cupboards at the back here for lots and lots of storage, and underneath the sink as well for lots more storage, and behind the loo. And just quickly on the loo, you might be wondering why it's taped up like this. We tape it up because, as you probably know, Millie uses the loo, and if we leave the head down she can't use it, so we tape it up so that when we're rolling and when we're sailing it's always open and she can use it.
And finally, the chart table. Originally this was one huge chart table out here. You couldn't sit at it, so we cut a bit off and we made this seat. It accommodates the 2 starter batteries. We have 2 starter batteries, one in here, one underneath me, which also contains some important hand tools and power tools. Obviously you can see against the wall here, which used to have a port light, and we filled it in. It now accommodates navigation equipment, the breaker panel, the spare computer. We have a backup computer in case our main system goes down, and various displays. And this is also where I do all of my editing, which is why this is a constant mess of cables, hard drives, and lots of other bits and pieces. When we got this made, we also added in, and this is one of my favourite little bits, these drawers. They're tiny little drawers, but it utilised this space beautifully. You see, they're very shallow, but each one contains something different. So I know for a fact we have screwdrivers in this one, we have Allen keys in this one, remote controls there, keys, and so on, and it's just nicely done. And just in here, this has our engine start stop breakers, and also the Sterling alternator to battery charging unit. So that was a very quick tour of Esper, our home for the last 10 years or so, and we're very comfortable and we love her. If you have any questions, then please do pop them in the comments. I think when this goes live, we will probably be offline. We won't have access to the internet for the time being, but please do leave your comments and questions, and as soon as we get back online, we'd love to hear what you have to say, any suggestions you may have, and any further comments and questions you have on things we may have forgotten to talk through in more detail.